mushroom observers. I'm Stephanie Jarvis and I'm a fun guy here to talk about fungi. The word of the day is hymenium. Hymenium. And the reason for that word today is because I have a client who just sent me a bunch of pictures wanting to know if the fungus, the mushrooms that she found on her property were chanterelles. And I get text messages and emails regularly, people wanting to know if what they found is a chanterelle or to please picture book ID mushrooms for them. They want to know if they're poisonous, etc. Mostly this time of year, it's winter here in California, people want to know if they found chanterelles. So let's talk about the hymenium. What is hymenium? It's a surface consisting mainly of spore-bearing structures. Asci, as in ascomycetes, like truffles, or basidia, in the basidiomycetes, like the mushrooms, the cap and stem that we know as mushrooms. So I'm going to show you different species of fungi today, and we're going to talk about the hymenium and how you can look at this part of a mushroom and be able to identify a chanterelle. Of course, there's a lot more to identification in mushrooms than just looking at the hymenium. But today's word is hymenium, so we're just going to talk about the spore-bearing structures on these fungi. Okay, so here is a shiitake, Lentinula edodes. This shiitake has gills. These are true gills, and you can go to your local grocery store. You can pick this up. You can get a button mushroom and pick that up. They also have true gills. You can pull it apart, okay, and you can get your fingers down into the gills, and you can actually flip the gills back and forth like pages of a book. I have my thesis here, the Lycoperdaceae of California, and gills you can flip like pages of a book, okay? Now, the gill is a type of hymenium. It is, and I'll make a little picture so you can see the structure microscopically, but it's where the spores are developed and dropped for the reproduction of a fungi. So the mushroom here, shiitake, is actually the fruit of the fungus, just like an apple on a tree, okay? Those are analogous structures. So the gills here on a shiitake, you can run your fingers back and forth and you can kind of flip them like pages of a book, okay? Now on a chanterelle, I have some nice examples of chanterelles here. They kind of look like gills, and they're decurrent. They go down the edge or the stem, the stalk of the mushroom, okay? Again, here's a smaller one. Get some light in there. They look like gills, but they are not true gills. It is called a thickening hymenium, or thickening hymenophore, phore meaning body. So a thickening hymenophore means that this structure will produce basidia and drop spores, and then the cells of the mushroom will then grow and extend beyond the basidia and grow more basidia and drop more spores, and will continue to do so for up to a couple of weeks. So most fungi, mushrooms we see in nature, will produce a fruiting body, drop its spores, and then disintegrate back into the earth. Whereas fungi with a thickening hymenium, such as a chanterelle, will continue to produce basidia and spores over and over for a period of time. A week, 2 weeks. It all really depends on the weather. So if it's raining and it's moist out, these suckers will get pretty big. If it stops to rain and it dries out, they will dry up and stop producing basidia because there's no more moisture. So what you can do when you have a chanterelle, and if you have some in your local grocery store, pick up a button mushroom or a shiitake or an oyster mushroom and pick up a chanterelle, put one in each hand, and compare the gill structure, okay? Now, on a chanterelle, the thickening hymenium, or false gills, you cannot run your fingers back and forth like pages of a book. They're thick. They're like ridges. Ruffles have ridges. Chanterelles have ridges. Shiitakes have gills. Oyster mushrooms have gills. Button mushrooms have gills. Shiitakes, oh, I said that. Shiitakes have gills, okay? Now, just to confuse everyone, this is a lion's mane. Notice it doesn't have gills. It doesn't have a thickening hymenium. It has spines. And along the surface of the spines is its hymenium, where it's producing basidia. It's also a basidiomycete. See if I can pull this in half on camera. You can see how it has these beautiful little spines. Not gills, not ridges. And this is not a thickening hymenium either. It produces its spines as it swells and grows, and then will produce its spores and drop its spores. Okay, so that is Hericium erinaceus, which is lion's mane. And then I also have another chanterelle. This is Craterellus Cornucopioides, which is a tongue twister. Craterellus Cornucopioides. This is a black chanterelle or trumpet chanterelle. These are great for pizza or risotto, or I actually had them in scrambled eggs this morning. But notice, if I can get some light in here, it doesn't have gills, it doesn't have ridges. It has a wrinkly appearance with some kind of wrinkles, I guess. Wrinkles is not really a technical term, but it has more of a smooth hymenium. A hymenium is still on the outside, and this is where the spores are developed. This is where you'll find the basidia. If you pulled a chunk of this off onto a microscope and looked under a microscope, you would see the basidia here. This is also a thickening hymenium without the ridges, without the false gills. So this, over time, will produce basidia and spores, drop the spores, and then the mushroom fungus will grow a little larger. The cells will grow beyond that of the basidia, grow more basidia, grow more spores, drop more spores, and continue on that path until its genetics say you're done, or it runs out of water, or it dries up, or someone picks it and eats it, or the bugs come along and consume it. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why things, you know, peter out and, you know, stop their thing. But those are examples. So, oh, and I have another one. I have hedgehogs. This is Hymenium repandum. It looks very much like a chanterelle. Some people call these the other chanterelle, but they're not chanterelles. People say all kinds of stuff to confuse. But look at this. They look very, very similar on the top. So if you're walking along the ground, you may see these and go, oh, look at that. They look like chanterelles. But look underneath. Very different. Make sure that's in focus. Now, Hymenium, which is hedgehog, often has this little belly button. So there's Hymenium umbilicatum and Hymenium repandum, the hedgehog mushrooms. If we open this up, you can see spines, just like on lion's mane. Its hymenium is also spines, not gills, not a thickening hymenium, not false gills, spines, just like the lion's mane, the Hericium erinaceus. Some other form of mushroom, like you may be familiar with porcini or boletes, the Boletaceae, they have pores, which are like little tiny holes or tubes. There's another form of Hymenium, which I don't have an example to show you right now. So there are many ways to tell when you have a chanterelle in your hand, and one main way to tell is to look for the presence or absence of true gills versus ridges or a thickening hymenium. And these are very thick. They are very, very thick, and do not go back and forth like pages of a book. Okay? So, next time you're out in the woods looking for chanterelles, use these clues to check and make sure. And always, when you bring mushrooms home to eat, double, triple, quadruple check before you chop them up, and check every single mushroom you bring home to make sure that you didn't put the wrong one in. Okay? So, Stephanie Jarvis with Pacific Truffle Growers and Napa Valley Fungi, showing you how to check for the right hymenium on your mushrooms. All right, enjoy the day, everyone. Thanks for watching.